Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly energy. Thank you for joining. Very special and probably the most important week Kabbalistically that we have. It's the portion and the week of Pinchas, the ultimate energy of healing, healing on all levels. And before we begin, of course, we want to start with a meditation. We want to close our eyes, take a deep breath and a long exhale, and connect to the Creator, connect to the truth, connect to the light, connect to unconditional love of the Creator. Understand what it means for us personally. Receive the messages of how we can grow, how we can change, how we can evolve to our best self this week particularly. We also have, it's a very special day, we have a support of all the righteous souls here with us today, especially Chaim Ben Attar, a very big Kabbalist, and all the righteous souls through all the time and generations are here with us today to help us, to support us in this connection, in this learning, in this study, in this revelation of light. I want to send this light also to the entire world to create more healing, more love, more peace, more unity in the entire world. So, as some of you know, this is probably the number one, the most important weekly portion that we have in the Kabbalah Center. It's the one that the Rav would put more emphasis on this portion more than any other portion. And it was almost like a holiday, just like if you've participated in holidays like Rosh Hashanah or Passover, this week is the same. This week is just as important for us as those holidays. And we're going to study why. Why is it so important? Why did the Rav and Kabbalists put such an emphasis and so much importance on this week's portion? It's very connected to healing. And we're going to talk about healing, where it comes from, what it means, and what levels we can have healing on, and the weekly portion, obviously. So the weekly portion is called Pinchas. It's in the book of Numbers, or Bamidbar, as it's called in Hebrew, and it talks about the immediate story. Last week's portion and this week's portion is directly connected. So last week's portion, we had the very mystical, very very black magic kind of story of a character named Balak and Bilam, who tried to bring down curses on Israelites, on the whole nation of Israelites that were in the desert. And they were completely unsuccessful. Not just they were unsuccessful, they actually did the opposite. They actually gave Israelites and us, all of us today, Bilam gave some of the biggest blessings that we have are coming from last week's portion. And basically, they were unsuccessful in bringing down curses, in damaging Israelites, in doing anything of that nature, and did the opposite. They actually brought down blessings, and it actually, one Kabbalah says that one of the blessings that Bilam uttered is actually something that maintains us to this day. So, but they, at the end of the portion, they actually did do something. Bilam has a recommendation. We know that Balak hired Bilam to do the curses, and he didn't do it, but he did give one advice, which was to basically tell the Balak, the king of Moab, to send women, to send basically prostitutes into the camp of Israelites, and that way they'll bring down the energy and bring down negative energy, reveal more negative energy. And it does, it actually works. And a lot of Israelites fall for that, especially one of the most important Israelites, whose name is Zimri, who was the prince or the president of one of the tribes, of tribe of Shimon. A very powerful, it's one of the most powerful tribes, the tribe of Shimon. And basically starts to cause a havoc and actually causes a plague that eventually kills it says 24,000 people died in that plague, which is a huge number, including Zimri, the head of a tribe, and also Cosby, the woman that seduced him. And the portion actually just starts with the name of Pinchas, and it's after his name, and it very, very gently and lightly mentions the whole incident, and then goes into a completely different theme. It starts to mention the tribes, which help us go above the signs of the zodiac. It starts to go into the holidays. The portion is so jam-packed with everything. It's unbelievable. It's just like literally like a bomb of energy that has so much light in it. And that's why the Rav used to still put so much emphasis on this week's portion, that it was basically like a holiday. And that's why we have something that is called the Pinchas water, that is charged with this reading that we have in the centers. So again, we really want to make sure that we participate in listening to this week's reading, because it's one of the most powerful readings. It's very interesting that when you have the Torah scroll, which is what we read on Saturday morning, it has certain rules of how to make it the most powerful, how it needs to be in order for it to transmit the energy of endless into our physical reality. Because that's its ultimate purpose. The ultimate purpose of the scroll of the Zohar is to transmit the energy of endless into our physical reality. And there's certain rules that it needs to have. The letters need to be the same size. There shouldn't be any dots. There shouldn't be any extra spaces. And all the letters need to be whole. There shouldn't be even a hair width of separation in the letter, or like a crack. If there is, it makes the scroll incapable of transmitting that energy to us. So it wouldn't bring down that energy if we if there's something like that in the scroll. However, in this week's portion, there's all five of these incidents occur in this week's portion. There is a small letter, there is a broken letter, there is extra space that shouldn't be there between the lines, between paragraphs. There is a large letter, broken letter, large letter, and also a dot above a letter, a word. So basically everything that shouldn't be happening in the scroll, in the letters, is happening in this week's portion, just to amplify the importance of the reading. So just so you know, there is a small letter Yud in the name of Pinchas. There is a broken letter Vav in the word Shalom, in the word for peace. There is extra space between the letters where it talks about the plague. There is a large letter Nun, and there is a small dot above the word Veisaron, above the letter Vav. Now, if you know the story, again, to go into it a little bit, basically, these two characters, Cosby and Zimri, who are not mentioned in last week's portion, their names, they're just mentioned as a man and a woman. And this week they are mentioned, the names are mentioned. They basically start to have intercourse that wasn't permitted by Moshe. Moses doesn't give his approval to Zimri to be with this woman, even though he asked. But he still does it anyway. He still decides to be with her, and they start to basically have intimate relations. And this is the ultimate cause that actually gives kind of a permission to other members of the tribe of Shimon to have also intimate relations in a not spiritual way. And this is the reason for the plague to start. and Pinchas, who was the great nephew of Moses, the grandson of Aaron the high priest, he looks at the situation and he decides to take it in his own hand, basically. He decides to solve it in his own hands. And he goes to Moses and he asks, what should we do? There's basically, it's pretty dramatic situation. What can we do to fix it? And Moses has no answer for him. This is one of the only times in the whole story, in the whole Torah, where Moses doesn't have any answer for him. So Pinchas decides to take things into his own hands. He takes a spear that was Moses's personal spear, and he basically pierces through, runs to the camp of Shimon, goes into the tent of Zimri, and kills them both right in their act. And it says that this is the act that stopped the plague from happening. And it's very interesting. It says that he was a Kohen, Pinchas was a Kohen, meaning he was a descendant of Aaron the high priest, and he could serve as a priest in the tabernacle or the temple. However, it says that if a priest murders someone, he's not allowed to be a priest anymore. So there's a lot of so much drama happening in the first few paragraphs of this week's portion. So much commentary also is made. So much things that shouldn't, normally happen. However, in the end, it brings us the biggest revelation of light and the biggest revelation of light of healing, light of cleansing, and blessings and abundance in our life. And what it says is that the moment he pierces Cosby and Zimri, I think 12 miracles start to happen right after that. Right after that incident, 12 miracles start to happen. And one of the miracles is that the plague immediately stops. And the other one is that the Creator starts talking to Moshe right away. And he says that because of Pinchas's zealousness to be closer to me, I am giving him an eternal priesthood. I'm not just allowing him to be the priesthood again, to be a priest again. I'm not just giving him an okay to be a priest in this life. He's given a priesthood for eternity, for eternal life. And this is very interesting. So how come, right? Why is there an exception happening? And it says that the ultimate attribute that gave this to Pinchas was the attribute of zealousness. Zealousness is more like a huge desire, such a willingness and such a huge desire just to connect to the Creator. Because ultimately Pinchas's motivation, desire, was only to connect to the Creator. That's it. That's all he wanted to do. And that's why the plague is stopped, and that's why he's given eternal priesthood. And it's very interesting that if you know that actually he eventually incarnates as somebody else. He actually never dies. Pinchas is one of the characters. It says there's 4 people from the time of Exodus of Egypt until now, they're still alive with us. It is Pinchas, who eventually becomes Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu, Hanavi. It's Batya, the daughter of Pharaoh that saved Moses from the river. It's Yocheved, the mother of Moshe. And I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's Caleb. These 4 people, they actually were granted immortality right as they exited Egypt, or because of something they did in the desert. And the secret, if you study, I hope everyone has the English Zohar of this week, because it's like Biana posted in the group, it's unbelievable. The commentary is just mind-blowing. It's really the most powerful Pinchas, the most powerful Zohar that we have. And let's talk more about healing and all these understandings. And it says, it's very interesting. When I was preparing for the class, it says, I remembered the teaching about Jacob, the patriarch. And it actually says that before Jacob, the patriarch, no one would ever get sick. There was no such thing as a sickness or as an ailment, as a disease before Jacob, the patriarch. that people would actually sneeze or just pass away right away after doing something reactive. Not just doing something reactive, but if an accumulation of energy, of reactivity accumulated to a certain level, they wouldn't have an illness. They would just vanish. They would just pass away. They would just die, sadly, right away. And it says it's because of the merit of Jacob the patriarch, the central column, the most balanced of all the patriarch, that the disease or ailments were introduced to humanity. And the reason for it is not to punish, is not to make someone, sick or uncomfortable, etc. It was only to help someone do repentance, do tshuva, do transformation, do change. So the actual seed level of any disease, of any sickness, is only to help us go through a transformation, go through a change, go through an evolution, go through an evolvement from wherever you are now to a higher state. That's the ultimate purpose of any disease or ailment that we might have. It's not a punishment. It's not it is a form of a judgment, but it's not a judgment in the harshest way. It's actually a way of mercy. And that's why there's amazing books like I'm sure you know the book by Louis Hay that tells, us about a certain ailment and how it's connected to spirituality, how it's connected to our consciousness. And every single ailment that we might have is just an indication for us of what's happening in our soul, what's happening in our consciousness, what's happening in our evolution. So it's never to be looked upon as a punishment or as a negative thing, but looked upon only as a way, as kind of like our body is kind of an instrument that is telling you what is happening with you spiritually, what's going on with you spiritually, what's happening inside, what should you focus on. If a person has issues with their throat, maybe they're not expressing themselves enough, maybe they're not listening to others enough. If the person has stomach pains, they're keeping emotions inside. If they have pain in the heart, that means they're maybe not expressing or receiving love and connecting to too much anger. So all our body is just an instrument to tell us what's happening in the upper worlds, which is such a beautiful way to look at it. It's not a way to look at it like it's a punishment. It's never a punishment. It's only a way to tell you what's happening to you spiritually. And in order for you to help you, to push you in a direction to do your spiritual transformation, which is amazing. Which, when you look at it that way it's a gift. That way it's really a huge gift. And that's what we want to focus on this week. This week, we want to focus on that if there is a certain ailment that we might have, you want to look at it as an indicator, as a red light going out for you to tell you what's going on with your soul, to tell you what's going on with your consciousness. How can I actually improve? And it's a merciful way of the Creator telling us how we can change, improve, and grow. So that's a very big kind of game changer that you can have when you look at ailments in your body in that way, that my body is just an instrument, an indicator for me to tell me what's going on with my soul, with my consciousness. To me, that's very inspiring. I think that you stop looking at diseases and ailments as a punishment and understand that it's just your body indicating to you with what's going on inside. So that's part one. That's about ailments. Now, healing is very connected to energy of purification and energy of cleanliness, and removing any stagnant old energy that is in our body. And healing is very connected to purification and the total elimination of all negative energy around us. That any ailment is actually, when you have reactive behavior, you act in a reactive way, that energy accumulates, and that's what creates blockages in our body and soul, right? That's the way that energy manifests. And the way to remove it is to purify, obviously, the consciousness, right? We want to look and we want to dig in and see, okay, what kind of consciousness, thinking, thought process is causing this ailment to be in my body, to be in my life, but also to remove the side effects, all the accumulated energy, both. We want to do both. So we know some of the ultimate tools of purification is the mikveh, right? The immersion in a living water or in a pool of water that purifies our energy completely, purifies our energy, purifies our light, our soul to its original state, remove any impurities that we might have. And it's also very interesting that, as I said, Pinchas, he reincarnates and we know him more as Elijah the prophet. And Elijah the prophet has a very specific job. He's a teacher. He's an angel, half human. It says that he can actually transform into any bodily shapes, any physical shape. He can come to a person in absolutely any shape. He can come as a woman, as a man, any shape. He can instantaneously turn into any physical body. And one of the indications, just so you know, that if you're meeting Elijah the prophet, one of the things is that he always asks for bread specifically. So if there's someone that comes to you and asks for bread, you should give him not just bread, but like whatever you have on you. Because it means he came to you to purify you, to help you go to your next level. And in general, he's the angel that helps people go to their next level. He was with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai for 13 years in the cave. He would visit Rabbi Shimon twice a day with lessons and learnings directly from the Creator to teach Rabbi Shimon more and more light of the Zohar. He's the angel of purification. He's also, it says that he has an eternal covenant, eternal brit with the Creator that will never be broken. That is kind of like a contract with the Creator that will never get rebuked or removed at all. It's permanent for all eternity. And he has another very specific job. It says that he also always comes to every Brit or every circumcision that is ever performed anywhere in the world. It says that Elijah the prophet is obligated to attend that Brit, to attend that procedure. And it's very interesting, not to go into all the details of what happens, but spiritually it says that whenever that procedure, a circumcision or Brit occurs, it actually reveals the light of 40 days of fasting, ultimate purification. Basically a total purification, complete purification of everyone that is attending that procedure. Now, the beginning of that actually has the seed level in this week's portion. This week's portion actually has the seed level of this purification of Elijah the prophet purifying everyone with the light of the 40-day fast. And just so you know, a fast is obviously very powerful physically, it's very cleansing, but it also is very powerful spiritually. It's very, very healing for the body and soul to do a fast. And actually, the whole DNA of this purification, of this energy of purification, is in this week's portion, is in this week's reading. All the energy that we might have around us that has any negative vibe, any low vibrations, any impurity, anything that is connected to whenever we were reactive, selfish, impulsive, angry, judgmental, jealous, hateful, revengeful, any of those moments, any of that energy that we've ever generated is purified through this week's reading. A complete, total purification. Complete purification. Complete light of cleansing and purification that you could ever want. So this week's reading is probably is the one reading that you really do not want to miss out of the whole year. You really want to listen to it. Now, so that's first of all, we understand that this week has an ability to give us an understanding of what our body is telling us, to read our body as an instrument to help us spiritually, to help us understand what's happening with our soul and consciousness, and also gives us this immense energy of purification. Imagine like a spiritual atomic bomb going off in the whole world. Whoever listened to this week's portion will be totally purified from all negative energy. All the sphirot, all the lights, all the levels of your soul, all the levels of your body, everything will be purified. Everything will be restored to how it should be, as if you're an embryo, to a completely perfect seed level, returning each and every single cell of our body to its immortal state, to the state of immortality. That's one of the ultimate promises of wisdom of Kabbalah, is that it will bring us to the light of Mashiach, or the light of immortality, meaning no death, no endings. This week's portion has that energy more than any other portion in the whole entire year, more than any other portion. And it does that by that energy of purification, by that energy that you are willing to let go of all your reactivity, all the negative energy, all the accumulation of negative energy, all the impurity is totally pulled and completely transformed into light of healing, blessings, purification, and love. So really, really a completely game changer of a weekly portion. Completely changes everything. And it's also a lot about the DNA. You know, it says that ultimately when we were embryos in our mother's wombs, we were in total perfect state. Our cells, our body was functioning at the completely perfect state. There is energy of immortality there. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like it says about Adam, you know, that he was made out of his whole body was made out of nails. And if, God forbid, any part of the body got damaged, it regrew right away. He was in total healing at constant basis. All the time he was in a state of healing. And that's what we achieve this Torah reading, that we achieve a total immortality on a cellular level. On a cellular level, we're going to reactivate our body's perfect condition as it's meant to be, that it will not decay, that it will not go and allow the energy of death, which is actually what Pinchas destroyed this week. In this week's portion, it says that Pinchas totally removes the angel of death, totally removes the angel of ending, the angel of ailment, any disease, any negativity. He totally removes it and replaces it with the light of the Creator, with the light of immortality. So as you're listening to this week's portion, that's what you want to be focusing on. You want to be focusing on removing any impure energy, any reactivity from the seed level to its manifestation, completely purifying ourselves on all levels, removing any form of negativity, and allowing the light of the Creator to completely heal us on all levels. And by the way, healing is something that we always want. It's never like, just like we passed through the pandemic, and this pandemic is still happening in some places in the world, that, you know, you never know. You always want to have more and more healing in your life, right? It's never enough. And healing is not just in your physical body, but it's also in your relationships, in your business, in your spiritual connection, in all aspects of life. You want to be connected to energy of healing. So purification, total removal of all impurities and negativity, allowing the light force of the Creator to flow through our entire body and soul, healing our body, soul, consciousness to its perfect state, bringing it back to how it should be, and also achieving the level of peace. It says that, you know, like I shared in the beginning of the class, that the letter Vav, one of the letters that form the word peace in this week's portion, the word shalom, has a small crack in it, has a small tiny crack. And this is kind of like to accentuate our the importance of the letter of the word shalom and the attribute of peace. And it says that peace is one of the ultimate states that a human being can achieve. A total peace of mind, total tranquility, total serenity is something that is also, it says that it's one of the ultimate vessels of the light force of the Creator is the sense of peace. So when we achieve this state of peace, we actually totally bring down the light of healing into our life as well. And peace is something that is harnessed. It's not something that just comes to you easily. Another secret of this week's portion is the 72 name Yud Bet Mem. I'll post it. I'll share with you later if you want. It's a special name. It's a numerical value of the name Elijah the prophet, and it's one of the names that the Rav used to use a lot in meditation. Still uses. And it actually, if you translate literally into English, it's IBM. The Rav used to say that the secret of that corporation is that they used the 72 name for a name. And its meaning is the big picture, is seeing the kind of the chaos beneath the disorder, is understanding the cause and effect, is connecting the dots, understanding that, oh, this happened because of that. Complete understanding of cause and effect in our life, a total understanding of cause and effect. Now, why do you want to use that also? Is you want to understand, okay, so if I'm experiencing this, or if I experience an incident in my life, someone talked to me not in a nice way, I had some bad news come to me, I'm lacking something in my life, I'm missing something in my life. With this name, I can understand what is the seed level, what behavior, what thought pattern, what activity that I did that allowed this energy to come into my life. So we really want to be meditating on this name all week long, because this name is going to give us this incredible ability to understand the big picture. And to understand the big picture is really priceless. There's nothing as valuable as understanding cause and effect, as having answers. Because the biggest difficulty that we have in our life, that we could have, that brings us unease or discomfort, is not having answers, not having understanding, not having the knowledge, having confusion, being doubtful of why this thing happened, of why it's in my life. How can I remove it? How can I change it? What should I do in my future? What's the next move for me? Why this happened in my life? Why something happened in a past life? Why, in previous years? So the light of this name will give us the ability to understand the cause and effect in our life. So we want to use this name as much as we possibly can, because it's really priceless. And extremely important to listen to this week's reading. This week's reading is the ultimate reading that you really want to listen to as much as possible. To listen to all the words that have those special occurrences, the small letter Yud in Pinchas, the broken Vav in the word Shalom, the extra space between sentences, the large letter Nun, and the dot above the letter Vav in the word Desaron, which actually sends light to all the people in the world, which is very interesting. Now, just to give you a brief, the Yud in the letter, in the word Pinchas, gives us the humbleness and the direct awareness that we're constantly connected to the Creator. The broken Vav is to have a true sense of peace. The space between the letters is to remove any negativity around us, any plagues, any negativity, any negative energy, any negative beings, any negativity, remove it completely from us. The large letter Nun is to transform any judgments into mercies, into our whole life and whole year. And the letter Vav is to send light to all the people in the world, to shower our whole planet with light of healing, blessings, abundance, and love. So that's ultimately the portion. In short, that's what you want to think about. That's what you want to meditate on. That's what you want to do as your prep work for the connection that will be on Shabbat. You want to meditate on the name. You want to think about ailments. You want to think about if you're experiencing any ailments. You want to meditate that this name is curing it, that you're getting the answers of why it's happening in your life. This week's portion also gives us the ability to go above influences of the zodiac, because we have the mentioning of all the tribes of the nation of Israel. So going above signs of the zodiac, connecting to all the holidays through the entire year. All the holidays are mentioned in this week's portion. To scan as much Zohar as you possibly can. This week, you want to scan the portion of Pinchas as much as you possibly can. But also, there's something very important happening this week, which is starting Wednesday night after sunset, which is the beginning of what's called the 3 weeks, the Ben HaMetzarim. And it's probably the most intense spiritual time through the whole entire year. It's the time of the year when the Rav says, the ozone layer, the spiritual ozone layer is removed from humanity, and we have direct interaction with the Creator. And obviously, as we know, the Creator only wants to give us more, more, and more, and He doesn't really want to wait for us to be ready. He just wants to give us more and more light. And because of that, the time will feel intense. This time, the 3 weeks, they are like an amplification of everything. All the illusion is removed, and all the truth is shown into our eyes. Everything that is happening, that happened, that we need to know, that we need to see, everything will be amplified. We're going to see everything to its ultimate level. There's no going to be beating around the bush this time. Extreme energy. The weather is usually extreme during this time. We are recommended to keep a very low key, a very low profile, not to plan any big projects, to work, to bring all our intention inward, to bring all the things that are happening around us, everything that we're thinking about, to completely bring it to a spiritual level, to bring it to a place where we're going to understand why things are happening in our life, to get answers. This is the time of ultimate spiritual growth. Because there's so much direct connection and direct revelation from the light, spiritual work is actually amplified and becomes easier. And there's a few things that we want to focus on. So first of all, obviously, the number one thing is to be in a state of restriction. Our restriction during the 3 weeks needs to be amplified 1,000-fold. Whatever you considered to be restriction before, you want to upgrade it to a whole new level. You want to get prepared. You want to make a journal. You want to start making journal entries and write, what are things that are making me reactive right now? What emotions, what behavior of other people, what news that I receive, what current situations in my life, what people in general are making me reactive. And I want to completely change how I see and how I react to them. Completely change it. If you want to go deeper, you can make the exercise, that we have in Kabbalah 1, where we write a few columns of one column, you write what happened, right? The next column next to it, you write what your brain's response to it is, how your brain looks at it, and then you want to see of how you look at that situation. So kind of look outside of yourself 2 or 3 times and understand that actually whatever happened is actually okay. And you can look at it in a positive way. It doesn't have to make you upset. It doesn't have to take you out of your positive state. The ultimate state that every single one of us needs to be in is a state of joy. When you're in a state of joy, that means you're on the right path. You're doing something right. You're connecting with the Creator. So whenever I'm not experiencing that state, it's an indication for me that I can grow, that I can improve, that I can get better. We always need to remember that the Creator's intent to create us was to give us more fulfillment, more light, more pleasure than we could ever imagine. And if we're not experiencing joy, that means we need to do some spiritual searching. We need to do some restriction. So highly recommend to do that exercise, to write out anything in our life that is making us upset, that to give us a higher perspective in our life. okay? Highly recommended. So when we enter that time zone, we also want to continue doing that exercise, but we're also a little bit more prepared, a little bit more ready for it, that it's not going to hit us out of nowhere. And it's also divided into, we're going to have some very positive days actually in those 3 weeks. We're going to have the death anniversary of Joseph the Righteous, the new moon of month of Leo, and the day of elevation of Rabbi Yitzhak Luria. So those days are going to give us a very big boost of energy, a big boost of light. And it's going to do that to us. But ultimately, we always want to remember our goal, what else we should be meditating on, focusing on. And that is the unconditional love. That is the true essence of the Creator. That is the true energy, the truth of the Creator, ultimately. And we want to meditate on the 72 name of God, the concept of unconditional love, the concept of loving the Creator, loving ourselves, and loving people around us unconditionally, more, and more. That this is the ultimate way for me to create that ozone layer, to have that protection against that extreme energy that exists in the universe. And we want to devote as much time as possible to scan the Zohar, to meditate on the 72 names, to connect to that energy as much as possible, to generate and awaken more and more unconditional love as we possibly can. Because that's the ultimate essence of a Creator. If you want more light in your life, that means you need to have more unconditional love of the Creator. So whenever I'm experiencing a lack, discomfort, chaos, etc., that means I'm lacking unconditional love. And I'm given an opportunity to awaken more and more unconditional love in my life. So again, for these 3 weeks, time of restriction, you want to go into it prepared. You don't want to be hit with a bat out of nowhere. You really want to go prepared into this time. Make the proactivity and your restriction as high as possible to focus on unconditional love, awakening more and more true essence of the Creator, which exists. It's something that you need to understand that it already exists within us. And it's through the process of meditation, of scanning the Zohar, etc., that we awaken that energy more and more in our life. We want to also participate in any volunteering, any charity, any activity that brings more of this light of sharing and unconditional love into our life, awaken it more and more, that we're totally guarded and protected as much as we possibly can. So that's about it. I'll send you, if you guys want, if you don't know which names they are for the 72 names, I can send it to you. Yud Bet Mem, the name for Elijah the prophet, for purification and understanding the big picture, and Hey Ayin for unconditional love, to awaken more and more unconditional love in our life. And scanning of the Zohar as much as we possibly can, scanning after midnight, scanning for other people, scanning for ourselves, scanning for the world, as much as we possibly can to generate this energy. And to close, we'll do a meditation to bring this energy more closer to ourselves, closer to our physical body. So please sit comfortably. And we want to take 3 deep breaths. And we always want to focus on the exhale, to make the exhale longer. By the way, if you're learning how to meditate, this is one of the best ways to learn meditation, is just to focus on your breathing. And if you get lost in this meditation, don't worry, just focus on connecting to the Creator and follow after my voice. So you want to focus your consciousness in your heart. You want to pull the energy that exists in our earth, to pull it into our body, to fill our entire being with this new fresh energy. Fill all our energy centers, all our sfirot, all our chakras with this new light, all the way to the top of our head. And imagine how this light starts to fountain at the top of our head and form a beautiful ball of light. And you want to see and visualize what color of light is your ball today. And then you want to pretend that you're in this ball of light. Pretend that you're in this ball of light and start ascending, start going higher above the building you're in, above our city, above even the planet, and traveling faster than the speed of light, going all the way across all the constellations, all the galaxies, to the edge of the universe, and passing through the edge of the universe, through layers of light and dark. And we end up at a layer of light that's very, very bright, 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 bright light. You want to keep ascending higher. The next plane feels like golden, soothing, relaxing light. Feels like home. That's where our soul family is from. The next layer of light is like thick water or jello, liquid-like. You want to keep going higher and see a beautiful shining in the distance of pearl-like light. Approach it, go through it, and enter the plane of the Creator. And this is the source of all the energy, all the light, all the love, all the healing, all the abundance, all the answers, all the wisdom originates from this plane, from the Creator, from the endless, from the Ein Sof. And you want to blend and become one with this energy. And here we can communicate with the Creator, we can pray with the Creator, we can ask the Creator for things. And we can really change our consciousness, change our whole life through being in this state. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to invite the Creator to our life. We want to invite the Creator to every level of our being, to every level of our soul, to every process that we're going through. We want to ask the Creator and His unconditional love and mercy to be present in that process, to support us, to guide us, to help us see the big picture, to help us understand cause and effect, to help us be the best version of ourselves. We want to ask the Creator to grant this blessing to us. We also want to awaken our understanding and our ability to understand our body, to understand what our body is telling us. What is it telling us spiritually? What is it telling us that we need to let go of, that we need to evolve from? What is our next step? To understand that our body is an instrument which our soul uses to communicate with us. So if you want to understand your body's messages to you, how it's talking to you, what it's trying to say yes. And we also want to connect to this energy of purification, of complete removal of any negative energy on any level of our soul, any level of our consciousness, removing any hatred, any resentment that we might be holding and keeping. We want to pull it and remove it from every level of our soul, every level of our consciousness, every cell of our body. We want to completely purify ourselves, to do an ultimate spiritual mikveh. So if you want that, also say yes. And you want to envision yourself being purified right now. And we also want to use the 72 names for Yud Bet Mem, to guide us, to give us a big picture understanding, to see the cause and effect in our life, to be in a state of peace and tranquility at all times, to awaken these letters, to activate our consciousness, to elevate our consciousness, to give us the ability to be connected to Elijah the prophet, the angel of purification, the angel of connection to the Creator, the oneness with the Creator. And we also want to activate the 72 names for unconditional love, Hey Hey Ein, to awaken new sense of unconditional love that we've never experienced for ourselves, for the Creator, for the people around us. A new high level of unconditional love that we've never experienced before. We also want to ask personally, each and every one of us, to ask the Creator to help us, to help the world, to help our loved ones, to help all the people in our life, to send them unconditional love of the Creator, support and guidance in the highest and best way possible. We'll send light of healing to our teacher, Karen Brando, anyone that needs healing now also. Also, if we're feeling any emotions that we want to release, any forgiveness that we want to do, release it, let it go. Any pain, any heartache, any sense of unfairness, to completely let it go, to let it be washed away by the Creator's love. Pull it, send it to the Creator, and replace it with unconditional love. And whenever you're ready, you want to rinse yourself in this unconditional love. Fill yourself up with it again. If you want to do this meditation on a daily basis, awaken this energy, awaken this light, so you have more support and guidance throughout the week. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Hope you're going to have an amazing week. You will have an amazing week. Don't forget to join us this Saturday morning, the Torah reading from the center, whichever center is next to you. Tell all your friends, remind them that it's the ultimate portion that you do have to listen to. And if you would like, join me tomorrow for my Food for the Soul class on Kabbalah.com. and all the best. Thank you for joining.